안녕하십니까. 서울 디지털 포럼 2014 진행을 맡은 SBS 아나운서 김환입니다. 반갑습니다. 네, 혁신적 지혜, 기술에서 공공선을 찾다라는 주제 하에 여러분과 함께 모두의 기술은 무엇인지 이제 조금씩 초점을 맞춰가고 있습니다. 여러분은 로봇 하면 어떤 게 가장 먼저 떠오르십니까? 뭔가 완벽한, 실수하지 않은, 사람보다는 빠른, 그래서 약간은 정이 덜 가는 그런 로봇을 상상하게 됩니다. 만약에 로봇이 실수라도 하게 된다면 뭔가 불량한 거 아니야? 라는 생각을 하게 되죠. 그런데 로봇 공학자 가이 호프만은 완벽하지 않은, 그래서 뭔가 정이 더 가고 어설픈 그런 로봇을 만들고 있습니다. 사람과의 교감이 높아지는 로봇은 과연 어떤 것인지 가이 호프만 교수에게 그 물음표를 던져보겠습니다. 가이 호프만 교수입니다.
감사합니다. The only other thing I know in Korean is bulsangye, and people told me it's a weird thing to say, so I don't even know exactly what it means. So I build, design, and study robots that communicate with people, and this past year has been really felt like a turning point for people in our field. The strange idea that we're going to live with robots, robots are going to be part of our everyday lives. After a decade, it's not just in our minds and our labs anymore, but it's getting more and more attention. For example, The Economist just had a special issue about living with robots, showing on the cover page robots helping people and assisting them. Google has gone on a shopping spree, buying some of the most amazing robotics companies in the world, among them Mecca and Boston Dynamics. And that's one reason. The other reason is that hobbyists and little kids can now build and buy robots like a robotic arm, a quadcopter, a mobile robot for under $200. This reminds me of my own childhood. About 30 years ago, when geeky kids started asking their parents to buy them computers to program. And this was even more expensive than that, almost $600, and over $600 or $700 if you wanted to save your program for the next day and use it again. But in a way, at the time, my parents and all the grown-ups and basically everybody didn't understand why anybody would want a computer in their bedroom. That seems crazy. But in a way, it really predicted the personal computing revolution that we all experienced over the last 20 and 30 years. I think we're at the same point today with robotics. I think geeky kids are now, they all want to be involved in robotics. And I think it's going to show us that robotics is going to be part of everybody's lives. So just as computers moved from data centers and labs into people's homes, offices, schools, and even gyms, I believe that robots will move out of factories and research labs into people's homes, offices, factories, and maybe even gyms. And what happened when computing became personal, when suddenly normal people started working with computers? People started caring about this new thing called the user experience and the user interface. And if in the 70s and 80s, the big computing companies mostly cared about efficiency and scalability and algorithms and the deep technological problems, now the companies that dominate the tech world have to care about the user experience. And I think similarly, if now we see research labs and companies solving some of the most amazing and difficult problems in robotics, just like in the talk that we just saw before, from walking to grasping to machine learning, I believe that looking forward, we're going to start caring more about the robotic user experience. And what is the robotic user experience? It's nothing like what we know today, because robots are a very special kind of computer. And they have something that no other computer has, and that's a body that moves in space. And no matter how beautiful an icon or an animation is, nothing is as emotionally touching as something that moves in your own space. So I believe robots will use their body to communicate. They will use body language, just like I do here. I move my hands, I look at you, and psychologists have studied human body language for many years, and we're using what these psychologists know about humans to try to give our robots the body language to communicate with us. So what is robotic body language? It's different things for different robots. It could be something like a small gesture, like with this robotic monitor that greets you with a bow when you sit down next to it. Or maybe it mirrors your posture to show you that it has empathy with you. Or it feels that you want to come closer to it, so it will also come closer to you. Or in this case, the robot refuses to work with the human because the human is sitting in an unhealthy posture. And the amazing thing is that we understand this very naturally, just as our kids shake their heads and we know they don't want to clean up their rooms. So we know that the computer doesn't want to work with us for some reason, in this case because we're sitting in an unhealthy way. It can also be more subtle and complicated. Look at this robot that I worked on as a student in Cynthia Brazil's lab at MIT. This robot is going to use a lot of more body language. It's going to use leaning forward to show that it's listening and the speech processing works. It's going to use little nods. It's going to point at things. It's going to look at things when it's focused and it's not ready for new information, and look back at the human when it's ready to hear the next command.
This is the green button. Press the red button.
Or in this next clip, where the robots are going to use nods and also show that it's not sure about something, and will look back before it does an action. A small gesture, but very powerful.
Can you turn the buttons on? Not quite.
Surprised that it's not done.
Press the red button.
And look
now all the buttons are on.
Look how the researcher looked at the button as the robot was looking, because we almost can't help it. When something looks at something, we follow its gaze automatically. It's a very powerful signal. And of course, it beats any pop-up window and icon. But interestingly, so eye contact is, of course, very important to any sort of communication. I do this when I want to connect with somebody, and I don't do it when I'm trying to hide something. And psychologists have long known how important eye contact is for any sort of human communication. The funniest thing is that robots don't even have to have eyes to make eye contact. Here we can see a robotic lamp that doesn't have eyes, doesn't even have a face, but it makes sort of eye contact with these actors to show the different emotions that it has. This is part of a theater production, and you can see the different emotions that it has by using its eye contact. It's very empathetic to the female character. But it gets insulted by the male character after it calls it a mute.
Look at me like that. What's that? Pity? Patronization? Never mind. Patronized by a mute. Great. Hey. I didn't mean to.
And see how from just like 4 motors, we can really generate a whole emotional relationship between the human and the robot. And the robot can also be confrontational. It can get angry at a person, like in this video.
Want to know something? Well, you want to know something? He was already dead. Just lay there, eyes glazed over.
So this is the power of eye contact for robots. Just to give you a sense of how important I believe eye contact is, I'll tell you about another project that I did at Georgia Tech in Gil Weinberg's lab. Gil Weinberg is probably the father of robotic musicianship, and I worked at his lab as a postdoc working on human-robot improvisation. We're going to see a little clip of a robot that I worked on, where the robot listens to what I play as a human pianist, and it responds by improvising in real time to my playing. And while there's a lot of machine learning and artificial intelligence that went into this, I realized very quickly that music playing is not just about making notes. It's also about communicating with the audience. If it was just about playing notes, nobody would go see a live show. You can hear much better on your own home stereo. But musicians have also to communicate with other musicians and with the audience. So we built a whole other part to the robot, which is a robotic head, that all it does is to communicate socially through body language with the musicians and with other people. We're going to see a part of the same performance, this time with a robotic head that communicates using body language. You'll see that the robot shows the beat that it's understanding. It looks when it's ready for the next chord, and it looks down when it's focusing on its own improvisation. And see what a difference it makes in the performance. The crowd was laughing even before the robot played the first note, because it saw that the robot is listening and learning the beat. And here you can see the final chord, this time showing, the robot showing me when it's ready, and all the parts are in place for the final chord by lowering its head very slightly to show me that it's ready. And this is in Atlanta, the south of the United States, where hip-hop is very big. Before long, a hip-hop artist was in our lab and wanted to jam with the robot. And you'll see the robot jamming with this artist, and notice two things. First of all, how irresistible it is to go with the beat of the robot. And second, that even though the human is looking at his phone, as soon as the robot turns its head, even though it's in the peripheral vision, the human has to turn back and look back at the robot. It's something irresistible because even when we see it only in the corner of our eyes, it's a very powerful gesture.
Simple assignment in the first grade. Simple assignment in the first grade. Yeah, Sue's beat. I can do that. Sue's beat. I can do that. Simple assignment in the first grade. Simple as Sue's beat. Yeah, simple assignment in the
So perhaps if you have a problem that your husband or your wife are looking at their phones too much, you just have to have a big robot in the house that sometimes looks at them, and then they will notice that someone's looking at them, and they will look back because people don't notice us looking at them anymore. So maybe robots have an advantage now. So I want to move to a live demo, which is always a little bit of a risk because robots are known not to like live demos and stop working exactly at this moment. But I'll try. And for this next robot, I want to tell you how it came about. This came about after we saw this clip, and we saw that after all the artificial intelligence we put into the improvisation, people cared much more about the fact that the robot was enjoying the music. And we thought, what happened if we make a robot that only enjoys music and doesn't do anything on its own? And this is how this little guy was born. So this is a robotic speaker dock. It's a very simple device, and it's something that we can see as a consumer product in the future. It's just a few motors, and it's a speaker dock, one of those where you dock your phone to and plays your music, but it doesn't just play your music, it also enjoys the music. So let's try to connect this guy. And I wanted to notice his body language. As I plug in the phone, he will make a small gesture showing me that everything is OK and the phone is plugged in. Sorry. That's a prototype. OK, so you saw he made a little gesture looking at the phone, looking back, and showing me that the phone was connected OK. And I think this is a much more powerful gesture than, say, putting up a window saying phone connected OK. We can also use his other gestures to communicate. Let's try this. Travis, look at me. Can you play Hot Chocolate? Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
sexy thing.
And also notice how when I asked him to look for a song, he didn't just put a search bar on saying searching, searching, searching. He was kind of like thinking, looking. It's the same ideas we had in the other robots, that when a robot is thinking, it's sort of looking down to show you that it's concentrated. But since we came all the way here, and I was so nervous, I forgot to say how thankful I am for you to inviting me here and for your amazing hospitality. So we thought maybe we should prepare a little bit of, we should catch him up on some Korean pop. So let's see if we can do this. Can you play some Korean music?
나는 선어해 점잖아 보이지만 놀 땐 노는 선어해 내가 되면 완전 미쳐버리는 선어해 근육보다 사상이 울퉁불퉁한 선어해 그런 선어해 아름다워 사랑스러워 그래 너 그래 바로 너 아름다워 사랑스러워 그래 너 그래 바로 너 지금부터 갈 때까지 가볼까 오빤 강남스타일 강남스타일
So this was a little corny. And thanks. And what's happening here is that the robot actually goes to the internet to download information about the song, gets the beats from the song, gets the different segment changes, and then creates a choreography in real time based on this information that was analyzed ahead of time from the song. But this was really the most corny thing I could have chosen. Play something a little more mellow.
그대여 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 그대여
And just because we know how important eye contact is, one of the things we can do, for example, with this robot, which is powered by a smartphone, is to do this, but while it's following me. So I'll try this next demo. I hope it works. Do it again, but follow me.
그대여 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 그대여
Okay, good job. We use this robot in our labs to study how people respond to nonverbal communication and body language. For example, one of the experiments we're running right now is we have people confess something difficult to the robot, and we want to see whether the robot's body language, whether it looks interested or bored, makes them tell the robot more about their experience and makes them feel better about it. This could be important if we have robots in such unexpected roles such as psychologists or even police interrogators, which might sound scary to you, and I think robots scare a lot of people. I and increasingly many people believe that robots are going to be part of our everyday life. They're going to be in our homes and they're going to be as pervasive, I think, as cell phones today. And a lot of people think that this is scary because they might take away jobs from people and they might make us not really be as human or as necessary as possible. But I believe that this might be true in some cases. In a lot of other cases, robots are going to work together with people, side by side, helping them to do their job better, helping them to be better humans at what they want to achieve. And I think in this case, we want the robot's user interface to be as rich and as exciting as possible. And this is why I think we're going to have body language as one of the big parts of the next user experience. And body language can do so many things that no computer can do, so that no other user interface can do. For example, it can point at things in space. It can come closer to you and move away from you, and this has a strong emotional impact. It can look you straight in the eyes, and it can look away. And another nice thing about body language is that you don't have to teach it. Millions of years of evolution have taught us how to understand body language, how to respond to it cognitively and emotionally. And kids understand it, and old people understand it. So in a way, it's really the interface that's going to cut right through the digital divide we have experienced over the last 10 years. And I think there's a beautiful irony to this, because in a way, the user experience of the most advanced technology will be the oldest user experience. I think the user experience of the future that we're going to have with robots is going to be the most ancient way that humans have ever known how to communicate. So thank you very much.